if we want to get into diet and everything,
we want to. I want to save that for a little bit later though, because I want you to talk about the battery of tests that you've done. And I mean, even last night, you know, I'm coming home back to the compound from a dinner and you're like, hey man, I got some shit I got to unload on you when you get here. I don't want you to worry, so I'll wait till you get here. And I come back and you're basically bringing up a definition and that says you need to go to the hospital. Yeah. Right? And that's a byproduct of everybody that's going to be doing a reset. And I call it a reset, a human reset. That's all we're doing. I'm doing one, you're doing one, everyone on our team will do one.
Oh yeah.
And that reset, the first time you do anything, it's going to be a little bit messy, right?
100%. And what we were specifically looking at is, you know, and this is why I say anybody can do it. You could not have a more sedentary lifestyle than I had, right? Flew on planes, would go sit in fucking meetings, would go sit at dinners and eat these big, long, way over portioned meals, drink wine, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I had the most unhealthy lifestyle possible.
And then you roll back to your hotel at 2 a.m, get ready for a meeting at 8 o'clock in the morning.
100%.
Yeah, it was this industry loves their happy hours. We're going to be, like DCAC next year will be chalked of just healthy hours too, right? Yeah. Because this is untenable. We can't continue to poison ourselves at that rate.
No. All we'll do is expedite the gray tsunami, right? By doing things like that. But anyways, you know, last night, you know, and this is something you have to learn as you're going through these resets is your body's a powerful thing. Your body will tell you what you need if you listen to it, if you're mentally in tune enough to pay attention and listen to it. Like, I had been going super hard, even on my rest day, I was walking 5-6 miles, right? Like still getting after it. I hurt more yesterday than I hurt on day 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And I was pounding water still, like just trying to do everything that I could.
Hit the electrolytes.
Yeah, the Theragun, everything.
Cold tank.
And it just, cold tank. And it just, I was getting to a point where my body wasn't feeling better,
breaking down
after those things. Yeah. And there's a condition you can get when you go from having a super sedentary lifestyle to then jumping into working out twice a day and everything like that. You can actually do more damage than good. Right.
Yeah. The muscle will break down in a road and then you'll see that through your urine. And that's what triggered all these things.
Yeah. And that's really what tipped me off to something was wrong. Like, you know,
your body
if you drink a gallon of water a day, I'm here to tell you your piss should not be brown.
Right.
Right. And mine was, and I was feeling real lousy, but you know, I went, you know, stayed up a little bit later last night, was still in bed by 9:30, but I stayed in bed I slept until 7:30, let my body naturally wake itself up.
It felt good to be able to be working out when you woke up and came to the gym.
I'm sure it probably did. But, and now today I feel a ton better. I'm, you know, still drinking nothing but
you're
water.
Using like green hooks, you're using hyperpulse, you're putting magnesium oil on you. Like, you said something to me this morning when you came in. I was trying to throw some reps around and you're like, hey, what I've learned was it's not about working out. It's about maintenance after you're done. You have to focus time on your recovery.
You do.
And you weren't doing that because you never had to. You had so much talent and you were the man. I'm like, bro, you're not deployed right now where you just got to pick up your rifle and your gun and you got to go out with some bullets and you got to go return fire. Like you have to plan. You can't just be in a reactive triage mode all the time. You have to be very proactive with what you're doing or you're going to hurt yourself.
It's funny because it's flip-flopped from when I was younger to when I was older, and not just from a physical standpoint. Like, when you're younger, your expenses are in gym memberships and your pre-workouts and this and that, right? Yeah. As I've gotten older, like I can work out just as hard any day without a single piece of equipment. Right?
Yeah, you can do body weight.
100%. But now my cost is in, glutamine and
vitamins are $150. Good place to, I used to look at the cost of those vitamins and be like, that's expensive. And then I'd forget that the night before I spent $300 on shots. I'm
exactly.
Like, how is that a problem for me?
I know. And it's funny how those things flip flop, right? Yeah. Like you get older and my body just needs different things now than it needed when I was 20. right?
Sure.
But yeah, so, today focused a lot on recovery. We had some great, super healthy soup loaded with a bunch of vegetables.
Yeah.
For
I mean, we're going to get
lunch
into the whole diet thing too, because that's nutrition and the nutrients that you're putting in your body have had a profound impact on your output. Wouldn't you agree?
100%. And even correlating the workouts with the food, my body has craved different food. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people, like I am the king of, I don't eat vegetables, right? I have vegetables with almost every meal now.
Every
right?
meal,
like it just, my body wants them. My taste buds have changed to the point that it's really crazy. Like I'm here to tell you, it is a fucking crazy experience to let your body do what it wants to do. Right.
So let's do this because, we just talk and we didn't define how we wanted to cover certain things. We never do. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to remind people why you're doing this.
Yeah.
And what are we doing? What are you doing? But I do think that people that are listening now, if they've heard the first one or if they've heard the first one and this first part up to now, I think they get it. They understand like you're a man that we are all, Dakota uses a really cool term that I like, and it's broken people leading broken people. And in many cases, that's true. But on that journey, there's a lot of healing. A lot of that brokenness is more of like a fracture that could be healed over the course of time. It just needs to be addressed. The water's always grasser where the grass is always greener where you water it, right? Yep. So knowing like, hey man, I used to never have to do these things. And then you woke up and you're like, why is everything hurting? I'm doing everything they're telling me to do. It shouldn't feel like this. And you're like, well, did you recover? Did you do the recovery things? Did you give yourself a break? What's your nutrition look like? And now you realize remember I told you, I'm like, bitch, I used to play poker till 2 a.m. and then go do my triathlons. Yeah. And I would break a PR every time. Right. While eating pizza on the way to the triathlon. Right. Right. And I'm not that man anymore. Right. And I have to not drink before those. I found the easiest thing to drop was drinking.
Oh yeah, I'm not a huge drinker, so that was super easy.
I do enjoy wine. Look, I went pretty deep into the pain a couple of weeks ago, as you know. But there's gonna be weddings, there's gonna be events and ceremony. Like
it's the 80-20 rule.
Yeah, that's it. So 80% of the time, I'm laser focused and I'm locked in on what is in my highest good. 20% of the time, I'm going to live my life not being a slave to my circumstances of life. If I'm going to be on a date or if I'm going to be doing this or that, I'm going to eat the cake or I'm going to drink that wine or I'm going to do that. But it's in moderation. It's typically only at certain parts. But Monday through Friday are business days, and those are the business weeks that I'm plowing through. And I know that you are too. But I want people to now go like, so now people understand you and people understand why you're doing it. And they're beginning to hear about the trials and tribulations of doing these things. Cause it's not, look, now I want to shift gears into, man, was it as easy as you thought it was going to be? Is it harder? Are you triggered in the sense where you're locked? Like I got a sense a few days ago, and I've known you for a bit. So I've cornered you multiple times into situations in which you didn't have a lot of options. It was, you're going to survive, period. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like Sun Tzu, we are not
sink or swim.
Yeah. It's not until we are faced with annihilation do we thrive sometimes. Right. Yeah. And I feel like I looked over one day and I said, how you doing, bro? And you're like, I'm dangerous. Like you felt dangerous again. Yeah. Like you're like, I'm fucking dangerous. And I was like, you look dangerous actually. Like you've lost. So why don't you go in and tell us the highlights. I don't want you to wait, and we can't be afraid of, these podcasts are going to go out. Yeah. And in a month from now, you may be a completely different monster. Yeah. The world will see that too. And that's okay, because if that happens, we're not abandoning this and we're not giving up on you. We're going to hit a reset again. And we're like, let's start back over, because that's part of the journey too, right? Yeah. I don't think that that's what's going to happen with you. But if it did, I'm right here in your corner, as you know, and the rest of this management team and our team in general would be. But the reality is something, there's a new fire that lit inside of you. Yeah. And it didn't come from the outside. You lit it from the inside. And there's things that drove you. Yeah. I think the external motivation got you started. Yep. The purpose that you have to I mean, this all started when you and I were sitting in the backyard and we were talking about your son. I'm like, listen, it's hard for you to fucking go tell your son to do this it's hard to lead someone when you're demanding excellence from them while they watch you tolerate mediocrity from yourself.
Yeah, it was specifically my son has constantly told me he wants to be in the NFL. And
he wants to play for the Bengals.
Yeah. And you said, well, does his dad look like somebody that their son would play in the NFL?
If you look at the NFL,
that's a hard pill to swallow.
Look at their fathers.
Yeah.
Those people, there's exceptions to everything.
100%.
But a lion's share of those people were born and raised and immersed in an environment where they put their health first.
Yep.
And I don't think those athletes that are professional in any arena right now really feel like they missed out on partying.
No.
So they were sacrificing that for the future. And many would say, well, that made them late bloomers. But the reality is they were very strategic in the way that they were putting things because they were in an environment where people were looking out for them and protecting them from themselves. Do you agree?
100%.
So it's the same for us. I discovered I hit a lot of limitations, and there'll be a time where you and I will talk about the journey changes that I've had and how painful they've been for me because I'm not talking to the same man today that I was when we did this podcast 2 weeks ago.
Sure.
And you're not talking to the same man either.
Yeah.
Right. And it's steel that sharpens steel, and it's iron that hardens iron. And we're doing that with their entire team, and we're starting with us, but it doesn't end with us. Right.
No. And it doesn't even like our team's our number one focus. Right. But for me, it doesn't even end with that. Right. Like for me, I got a guy back home, Cole Sizemore, that is a dude that I fucking can't even describe how much I care about the dude, right? And he has been following me along the whole journey. He's the only person I've sent the first
that knows about
podcast to listen to. And like, he's like in my corner and everything like that. And I'm like, bro, I'm just getting myself right.
And then you're going to pull him up.
100%.
Yeah, that's the trick is when you reach the other top side of that wall before you go down to get the next wall, you gotta lean back and you gotta reach down and you gotta grab someone, pull them up with you, right?
And that's genuinely, I think, that is what will give me the most joy, right? Like I am enjoying my process and my journey and celebrating my wins and stuff like that. But nothing will make me feel better than when I'm able to sit across from somebody like you are,
your friends,
and be like, hey, we did this together.
Sure.
Like, you know what I mean? Like that shit matters.
Sure. Look, I mean, you were, like you said, whether it is rock bottom, you hit a limit where I had to have uncomfortable conversations and say, hey, listen, man, you got to get it together.
Yeah.
And that wasn't an attack. That was my love for you. And if I didn't care about you, then I would have been like, well, when he burns out, but that's not how we're wired. People like us aren't wired like that at all. Right. No. So you went into this and it was, the first week was, I want you to just give me a summary. I want a Jesse Sargent full-blown narrative. I want you to tap into that lexicon you have. And I want you to tell us because you first of all, you have the greatest stories and you are the best storyteller. But the second part is I sat front row at that compound watching you. Like I would be up by the time you'd come back. And then I'd get to kind of see how you were functioning throughout the day and how efficient you were.
Yeah.
And then I'd watch, you do your rucks at night or whatever you're doing. And then I got to see you come in when you're like, whether it was blisters or changing your entire diet to the extreme you did had an impact on your gut.
Oh, and 100%.
But like, walk us through, and this is your time because there's someone that's going to listen to this podcast, and bro, there's going to be a lot of people I think that listen to this podcast, and they're going to be inspired by your story. And when we're done, we'll eventually have pictures that show the greatest loser sort of journey that you're on. But it's not a diet. It wasn't just to lose weight. The weight loss is a byproduct of something else all entirely, right? So tell us about the tests. Tell us about what you've learned about those tests because you got hit by tell us about how you got hit by a truck once and tell us it all, man. This is my favorite part of the story.
So I'll tie it all together. First day was genuinely, I think first day they sat out to see if they could.
Dakota wanted to crush you. Yeah.
I think they wanted to see if I would quit on
Good. One. You have to be worthy of their time too.
I mean, we started there was 10 exercises on the board. First exercise was 100 reps. Second exercise was 90 reps. Next exercise was 80, all the way down.
He's mean.
Right. And
they have a strength and conditioning coach helping you, right? Dakota brought you.
Yeah. So that's
Rebecca
Semper Stronger. Yeah, it's a lady named Rebecca. She's awesome. But I think it was they were testing the waters, right, to see what I was made of. And I'll never forget. And whether it's the straw that broke the camel's back or whatever you want to call it, when this happened to me, something in my mind fucking changed, where I was really struggling on, it was the last thing. I think it was the thing that I only had to do 10 reps of, and they're called man makers, where you do a push up, you got dumbbells, you do a push up, you come back up, and then you're doing rows, right? And dude, I'm telling you, my brain, I was looking at my arm like, lift this motherfucker, And I just couldn't, like, shaking, everything like that. Calm as day. He gets down and he goes, "Hey, don't worry about it. You earned a break. I'll do your reps for you."
Oh, Dakota. Yeah.
That'll trigger something in you where you're like, no, I'm all right.
No one's doing my shit.
And I just kept going. But anyway, so like, obviously super sore first day, everything like that. Second day, day 2, similar, sat in class style. Like, I mean, it was like being in school, sleep, nutrition, recovery, exercise, all these different things. Day 3, I went and had the test done. Right. And the story you were talking about is, so when I was in the Army, anybody that's familiar with the military, you have what's called the motor pool, which is where all the vehicles are stored. Right. And we're walking outside the motor pool, and I got hit by a truck of somebody that was under the influence, and they were going about 40 miles an hour. And they hit me, threw me up in there, spun me around, bounced off the pavement, and I immediately popped up. And I was just like, well, that was fucking wild, and everyone around me was like screaming for me to lay down.
Yeah, we're gonna get the medic.
Yeah, because like,
shock.
You don't get hit by a truck going 40 and not have some damage, right?
Sure.
But you're a big ambulance boy. Comes, go to the hospital, everything like that, and they're like, I don't understand this, but you don't have a single broken bone, right? But come to find out, one of the tests I had done was it's called DEX scan. And so the average skeleton weighs roughly about 6.5 pounds. Mine's almost 9. So I have a super dense bone structure, which was great. So that's probably what prevented me from busting some bones up, you know what I mean? So that was a super cool test. We learned that I might as well be Lance Armstrong in my metabolic rate, right? I burn a bunch of calories each day.
Your body's massively efficient in those tests, it told me. It's just the poison that you kill it with.
It did. And the crazy thing is, I went and had the blood work done. And aside from having a little bit of low testosterone, like everything else in my body, like I picked the perfect time
of
my life to start changing, because my body was just starting to get to the point to where it could no longer support that lifestyle, right? Like, surprisingly enough, my blood sugar was good. My thyroid was good. Obviously, because I'm overweight, had a little bit of fatty liver issues and things like that, which I'm on some supplements now to help out with that. But outside of that, I was good, right? Which
they told you though, they're like, you just have been eating too much fast food or fried foods,
and I had so much visceral fat.
Yeah.
Right. Like, visceral fat's the killer fat. But that's the fat that'll kill you.
Yeah. So, I mean, get a little bit more into the granularities on that stuff if you want. I think that may be things. Look, there's a lot of people, this podcast is a couple data center guys on the data center revolution talking about fitness.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why. It's because data center, DCAC Live, the conference that we host every year, it's focused exclusively on the growth of the industry. But this was the first year that we introduced as 1/3 of the subject, it was on humans.
Yeah.
And I think that you'll see that grow over the course of time, because the industry as a whole, in spite of or because of, the advancements we make in power and supply chain and connectivity and all that other bullshit and how we get land, there's going to be there's going to be all those things when they're at 100% will still reach a limitation based on human capability.
They'll still rely on the human factor.
So now we're like, I think we're the only ones that are really trying to highlight and talk about this right now. So everyone's trying to fix their designs or trying to fix their this or that. And I'm like, how about fix yourself? How about fix your team? How about get you right?
Yep.
And then you could go talk to your team. Like if you hadn't noticed, I had to go get myself right.
Sure.
So I could sit down and I couldn't have the right to hold you accountable to something that I didn't do myself.
Yeah.
So leaders have to lead from the front. So I was like, I'm going to go fix a lot of things that I see because my team, I look at my team much like parents look at their children. Like when you see your children do something wrong, it's a mirror of something that you taught them.
Yeah.
And you're like, all right, well, I'm going to have to go unfuck that so I could go back and teach them how to not to do that bad habit, right? But you make no mistake, you taught them that. And in the team, like especially you, I would sit there and watch you do things. And I'm like, who's the dipshit that taught him how to do that?
Yeah.
And I realized it was me,
Yeah.
right? So I was like, all right, well, let's go unfuck that. And then I'm going to teach Jesse how to overcome that, right? And it's just a constant leveling up. And we were feeding off each other, not just you and I. We have an incredible management team. And
We do.
And every one of us were leading each other and being led from each other. So, it's a place where we were all going to grow. People were teaching us their habits. And I've learned so much from watching you and all the other people on our team that are changing and transforming. But for you went deep.
I did.
And you got really scientific. And there's people in this industry that are really smart, and some will be inspired by your story, but some are going to be inspired by the science. And the science is what I think triggered you too. I think that your purpose is what lit the fire, but what pours gas on that is the knowledge you're gaining daily.
Without a doubt.
Because the knowledge that you gain daily is growing your confidence. Now you're learning how, what you want, you don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
So now this, podcast, this or audiobook that, and you're like, wow, now I know what I have to do.
Yeah. And one thing that's super cool is like a lot of people think it's super expensive to figure these things out, and it's not, right? Like my resting metabolic rate test and my DEX scan, I mean, it was $120 combined for both of them. Right. Yeah. And like, especially with the DEX scan, like, I was 36% body fat. Almost all of it, every bit of it was visceral fat. Visceral fat, for those of you who don't know, like that's the fat under your muscle. That's the fat around your internal organs. Visceral fat is the silent killer. It's what gives people like, you see some people that are overweight that are like really rolly and things like that. Like that's not visceral fat. That's just fat above your muscle layer that are due to different lifestyle things, right? And listen, I'm not a medical professional. Sure. These are just some of the ways things were described to me. Visceral fat is the killer fat. That's the one you got to worry about. So guys like me, who maybe have a barrel chest or a belly that doesn't have rolls, but it's nice and round, hard as a rock, right? That's because the fat underneath is literally pushing the muscle out. And that's the fat that'll kill you. That's the fat that is most associated with heart disease and cardiovascular disease and things like that. And so, but the great thing is too, like I say all those things, it's not meant to be a scare tactic. Like visceral fat's the easiest fat to get rid of too.
Yeah, that's the good news. You
got to change your diet, no processed foods, no sugar, no things like that, right? Like that's how you can get rid of those things. And like I'm a prime example of that. I went from, I was 280 pounds.
When
I started, 2 weeks in, I was down 21 pounds. I would have to imagine, right about now, I only weigh myself once a week. So, but if I'm staying on track, I should be, 26, right around there, down right now. And that'll slow down, eventually. The good thing, another good thing for me, like I have been super blessed along this process in that, a lot of the things that were wrong with me, by fixing those things, actually accelerate my ability to change things once I address them, right? Like, having low testosterone like I did and being put on testosterone therapy, that'll actually help me continue to lose weight.
And help you heal faster.
100%.
I think that if you're in your 40s or even if you're in your upper 30s,
you got to go get it checked.
You have to. And if you're my age, I can't imagine why you're not. I mean, I'm not on it all the time, but I've taken cycles before. And as the doctors say, as I need it, if my body's hurting and stuff, I'm like, yeah, I mean, I don't have it.
Yeah. And I want to clarify, this is not, I'm not saying go buy testosterone from your buddy that's at your gym.
You're going to see a doctor, you're having your blood work done.
I'm at a doctor, I'm having blood work done.
Explain
this
that,
is a clinical process. So
you have a cool system that you found.
Yeah.
Dakota turned you onto it, right?
Yeah, Dakota turned me on to a super cool doctor here. The name is slipping my mind, but for the next podcast, I'll make sure I have it written down so that way I can share it. But it's a doctor that's kind of what they specialize in. Not testosterone therapy, but just, your genetics and your hormones in general within your body, right? Because like a lot of people, they go to their primary care doctor and they have a standard lab panel done. And a lot of people don't realize like the normal range so when you get your blood work back and there's a normal range, what you are seeing is 20% to 80%. That is what the medical community is calling normal, right? But think about how much we've changed as a society and kind of what we look like, right? As a people, much more unhealthy.
COVID definitely created a much wider group of unhealthy people. But the beauty is, I think a lot of those people now are getting with the program.
They are. But so essentially when you're looking at these different things within your blood work, like just because you fall within a normal range does not mean it's good for you, right? That just means that it's
normal for society.
It's normal for society, right?
Yeah.
There are, I mean, my lab work was this long because they tested every hormone, everything you could possibly imagine. And now the cool thing is like this is a doctor's office that you pay for monthly, and it includes your hormone therapy and your tests and everything like that.
And they'll send you what you need as you need it.
Yeah, and not just that, they send it like I don't even have to go to a pharmacy to pick this up. It gets sent to my house, which is for somebody like us who has a very active lifestyle with work and kids and everything like that. It could not be more convenient the way
There's no excuse not to do it is what you're saying. You have to take the time to get the blood work done. Like I have the phlebotomist coming to the compound tomorrow. Yeah. Because I don't have the time to break out to wherever you had to go. But I'm like, send someone to fetch my blood.
And it's not expensive. Like people think
it's worth every penny.
Well, like this is the way you've known this about me for a long time, a big numbers guy, right? Like I understand budgets and things like that. And like one of the things I was explaining to my wife is like, so I think this doctor's $150 a month, roughly. Dude, I was spending $200 plus just on fast food. That didn't include my gas station stops where I was, anybody that has ever, had nicotine or something like that they use, like when you go into the gas station, that ain't the only thing you're buying. You're like, damn, that candy bar sounds good. That bag of chips looks good. You know what I mean? Like that pop, any number of things, right? Like by the time you aggregate all those numbers, which I've completely cut out. I mean, I literally fill this thing up 5 sometimes a day and just only am drinking that water.
Water, tea, or coffee?
Yeah, well, I haven't even been doing coffee, right? Like I cut coffee out too. I do enjoy a glass of unsweet, black iced tea just to get a little bit of caffeine every once in a while. But once you take all the money that you spend on the bullshit that you dump in your body, you're saving money.
Yeah.
With by doing things the healthy way and doing things different, right?
I think that people just didn't know where to start.
A lot of people, and I didn't either. And that was the great thing about having the support that I had. And like, hey, I'm here to tell you, if you need some support or you need some information on this kind of stuff, please reach out to me on LinkedIn. Anybody that's got my email, my phone number, like, please don't hesitate to reach out to me, because I'm only in this position because people were willing to share that information with me and share that knowledge with me. And I will be glad to share it with anybody else.
I would say this, I would add on top of that, when you're ready to make the decision that you want, when you decide that you're not happy with yourself and you're ready for change, they should call you. And this is the part of the season where people reflect, right?
Yeah.
I mean, when you get into Thanksgiving, you get into Christmas and New Year's, what comes after that?
New Year's and resolutions and everything like that. And
now's the time to game theory that stuff.
Yeah. And I would add too, like, unfortunately, Thanksgiving to Christmas can also be, some of the hardest times for a lot of people. And nothing better to take your mind. I'm here to tell you, nothing better to take your mind off some of those things than focusing on yourself and exercising and having goals and standards.
Well, when you were exercising,
yeah,
like even if I put that candy bar and that bag of chips and all that pop and all that shit in front of you, your body would have rejected it. Today, we went and had a very healthy meal for lunch, and on the way out, they're like, "Would you like an iced tea to go?" And you're like, "I would love that."
Yeah.
And then you took one sip. And like, you're a guy that could have drank a gallon of sweet tea a day.
Oh, 100%.
And you took one sip and you're like, not today. You're like, it tastes like trash, right? Because your body says, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Your body will tell you, like, that is not what you need. Like, if you slow down and you find peace, like, you have to have a relationship with the food that you consume. And once you do that, you'll know, like, that's not the relationship I need right now.
For sure. Like, what was it? True Food? Is that the place
we were at True Food too? Yeah, the other day.
And that was the Brussels sprout day.
No, but I ordered you one of those like beet.
Oh yeah,
juice things, and you've never had.
And
something
you were
like
"Hey, this is gonna taste bad.
It tastes like dirt, maybe, but get it."
But the funny, I'm going to tell everyone else. The funny thing was, like, you were on me about, you got to drink all this, you got to drink blah, blah, blah. And I drank the whole thing. And then I looked over and yours are still halfway full. I was like, how's this work? You need me to drink the rest of that for you?
Well, look.
But it was, my body wanted it.
But you're also addicted right now to something other than pop, 100%. Soda, candy bars, and fast food. You're addicted to.
I'm addicted to healthy shit.
Feeling good.
As Emma would say.
Yeah, your daughter. I love that. Yeah, she's awesome. I want some healthy shit.
Yeah. One thing that I want people to know too, at least this has been my experience. It was actually a lot easier to give that shit up than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. You're enjoying vegetables a lot more than I thought you would too.
Not even vegetables. Like, yes, you're 100% right about the vegetable part. Like, it's so weird to me. Like, there was a point in time, if you put a Brussels sprout in my mouth, I was literally going to have a physical reaction where I would gag and almost vomit, right? And so I was nervous when we were there, and I put one in my mouth and I started to chew on it, and I was like, man, it's so weird.
It's not bad.
It wasn't. And it was like my body, my taste buds even changed to be able to accommodate those things.
How about what Carly made you do the other night where you're like, man, I'm all sore. And she's like, no problem. You need a shot of pickle juice. And you're like, let me just tell you how pickles work. If I order a sandwich and they have a pickle that touches my bread, I need all new sandwich.
Yeah. That's how much I hate pickles, right? But the funny thing,
it helped.
It's not even funny. It's mind blowing is more the right way to put it. Like, my body was so sore. I was like, cool, give me this shot of pickle juice.
And that's where you were when we were at True Food that day, where I was like, all right, well, let's take you in the deep end and keep feeding you the healthy. Like, when you have that fusioned food where they're putting all kinds of things together.
I was going to say, there was shit in there. I was asking the waiter, like, what is this thing, right?
It doesn't matter. It's in there. It's true food. It's healthy. It tells you all the, so like you learn, like, your whole world changes when your diet, when what you're able to consume changes. Do you agree?
100%.
And
you got to have the output with it though, too, in my opinion.
I think the output drives the diet. I think that if you were just be like, I'm going to eat clean because it's good, that ain't the same as putting out. When you put out, you're like, if I don't eat this, I may die. Yeah. Like, that's over dramatic.
I get what you're saying though.
But let me tell you,
I'm going to hurt.
Yeah. I'm like, if I don't put something like that into my system, like, if you don't you can't just work out and not recover. And I don't mean from sleep and exercise and nutrition and supplements, but you have to eat a proper something.
Yep.
You have to refill the tank or you'll trigger your body to start attacking itself, right? So, and we're all students. Like I said, we aren't celebrities. We're amateurs that are learning this on our own journey. And we've we just love enough people to where if it's good for us, why wouldn't we share this with our team? Why wouldn't we share this with our teams and our partners and stuff, right? And
without a doubt.
And for you got all your blood done. You had the bone scans. You had all the things done on your weight. You understood where your fat was. You understood where your body chemistry was.
Yep.
And I think like when we were driving the other day, we were listening to this amazing podcast on Rogan, and it was this guy that, he's a human biologist. He's not a doctor. He says it multiple times on there, but he talks about the chemistry of nutrition in a way that people don't break it down like that. And I
the
think
layman understands it that way.
If you're listening to this podcast and you don't listen to Joe Rogan's podcast, I can understand if you don't watch MMA or you're not following that, so you're not going to follow that, or the comedians. Like I love the Shane Gillis ones and stuff like that. Yeah. But if you only listen to the ones that he brings on experts in health.
Yeah.
And that platform that he has allowed him to change the world greater than CNN and Fox and all those other dopes combined, because podcasts have become the primary source for media, in my opinion, at least truthful, objective media, because what's being said is typically being said in a long version podcast that is unfiltered, and the lens to view what they're saying through, because you could handicap them based on whatever bias you've heard in the past.
Yeah.
So he brings on these doctors and stuff. I mean, like I sent that podcast to all kinds of people I know. My dad came back and he's like, I already ordered that genetic test. It's like $600. And he's like, let's see what I'm missing, Let's see what my DNA tells me.
It's funny you say that, because like, and she may punch me when I get home after she hears this, but like, I can't tell you how many podcasts I've sent to my wife. Now, granted, 90% of them are the stupid, funny, bullshit, stupid ones, or they're about, I'm a huge history guy. Like, I'll be like, hey, well, you got to listen to this. Like, this is wild. You know what I mean?
I'm assuming half your podcast forwards are from aliens.
Yeah, for sure. But, and I attribute this to my wife seeing the change in me already, right? I sent her that podcast and I said, hey, maybe if you don't listen to this one for me, listen to it for the kids. Because one of the things they talk about, and it's funny, as he was going through those things, I was able to like relate a lot of these things to my own childhood, right? And not an attack on my family at all, right? Like I had two families where I had two parents that both worked factory jobs, 12-hour shifts, right? Like you ate what was there, Pop-Tarts, cereal, bagels, whatever it was. After listening to that podcast, and I've always kind of felt this way, but after listening to that podcast, I'm a firm believer that majority of the kids in this world that are being heavily over medicated with Ritalin or ADHD medication or anything like that, I firmly believe that majority of them, there's always, cases for certain things, but majority of them could be fixed with a change in diet.
I think that's exactly what that podcast talked about, is what you put into your system has a direct impact on the output of your system. And 100%. If you're sending kids off to school eating those things, you're putting them in a situation where they can't be successful before they even leave the house.
Yeah. And that was me when I was younger.
Yeah, I think that's all of us.
Yeah. I couldn't focus in school. I couldn't,
It's all marketing. I mean, it's weird how when you go into a grocery store, the only parts of the grocery store that are healthy are the edges on the outside, between the fruit and...
Or one aisle.
Yeah. I mean, or they have a health aisle. Like this is the health aisle. And you're like, out of all this, out of the entire, 20 rows, you have one row dedicated to health food, right? But if you know how to shop, from the outside and avoid most of the processed bullshit on the inside, you can stay healthy. You don't have the diet, the lifestyle change that you're talking about. It's a trade-off. Like the things that you were spending money on that were really bad, if you remove those and you spend that same money on things that actually benefits you, not only you're no longer adding to your deficit, but you're really starting from a zero and building up.
100%.
And I think that if we can learn these things, who couldn't, right?
Listen, I got a PhD from Pig's Knuckle, Ohio University, right? Which
public high school.
That's what I was going to say. If anybody doesn't know what that means, that's a public high school diploma. And let me just tell you, I had to do some extra booklets to get that.
That's the Ohio public school system. And in theory, you wouldn't have a chance in this world, right?
Well, we've had this conversation about astronauts.
Yeah, I got it.
But, you're 100% right. If nobody takes away anything else from this, it's that I hope they understand that, like, if I can do this, literally anybody can do it. I'm traveling all over the country every week. I, have 4 kids at home. I
High stress job.
Yeah, I have a busy life. Like, if I can make these changes, anybody can. It's just a decision on making the choice to do it. And like you said, like, I am an analytical person, so I do like data and everything like that. And like I got the Whoop thing, right? And it's awesome. I can track my stress, my strain, my recovery, my sleep, and like it. I'm not a scientist that's smart enough to understand all of it and how they correlate and everything like that. But like, if I literally can get a notification on my phone that's like, hey, go to bed 30 minutes earlier today, you're going to feel way better tomorrow. And then I do it and it's right. That's a powerful tool, right? Like it's pretty.
You're listening to your body better. Technology. Yeah. That's the beauty about what we get to do. We're at the forefront of innovation in what we do. Everything that, I think that we've seen massive advancements in technology, the means and methods and how we deliver that, the innovation of the technology within the white space. And we as the consumers are what drives that, because we're 100%. Aggregating and creating so much data. We're content creators. Each person is, right? But if you take it back, it's beautiful to see how we're using that technology that we're building homes for to build a better version of ourselves.
Yeah, 100%. And it's, like, you mentioned it earlier, when we started, like, every single thing that anybody is doing today, right now, I don't know about you, 98% of it, the information's being stored somewhere. The data is being stored somewhere.
Yeah, if you're doing any e-commerce, you're on a data center. There's a good chance we've touched one of them. If you're downloading music or videos or uploading those things to social media, there's a good chance that
even what you're buying at the grocery store.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, technology is involved with that. I'm saying like everything ties back to data centers, but yes. You're right. The data center, that data that's created, it falls back into.
I was going to say, I promise you, they're storing that on a server somewhere, and even if they're using it
in the cloud,
yeah, and even if they're using it for their own use of like, we sold X amount of X product, you know what I mean? Like
analytics.
There's algorithms and stuff that are monitoring all of that,
the trends,
and we tie back to all of it, and the ability to use technology today to fix yourself. It's never been more easily or readily available
and affordable.
100%. This they don't even charge you for the Whoop band. You do a yearly subscription and you get the band for free, right? Like it's
I mean, like there's just things that you could use. There's tons of crutches out there that you could adopt 100%. To figure out what helps you.
The other thing I like that I use is that MyZone that I wear. So it's
the heart rate.
Yeah, it's a band. It's a heart rate thing that I wear around my chest, and it tells you what zone your heart rate's in, and and listen, I didn't know any of this when I started, but all this information is readily available. And like I said, if you need me to tell you, just let me know. But like, there's different zones that your heart rate can be in, whether you want to recover, lose weight, build endurance, or cardio for your heart health, right? Like there's different zones for all of it. And one thing that I've definitely learned through all this is knowledge is power, right? And understanding what your body needs and the different things that you can do for your body. If you're like me, that kind of stuff's addicting, and it's a powerful tool to be able to use to be able to look at different things and be like, this is going to help.
It allows you to compete against the only person that matters.
Yeah, yourself.
Yep. So you want to, you should be satisfied with the man you are today, but tomorrow morning, you shouldn't be satisfied with that person. You should want to be better than the person you were yesterday. And it's the same for everybody.
It's not that hard to be 1% better.
And that's all you have to work on every day. I think now that we've covered why, we've covered what we're doing. We covered why you're doing it. We've covered a little bit of what is going on, like some of the things that you've endured. I'd like to understand how you feel. like go into this a little bit more. The testing information. I mean, I could have done a whole podcast with you and if you brought your test stuff because it's bananas.
Maybe we'll do that on the next one. I'll bring in all the.
You brought some pretty banana. Right now, there's so much more that you took away from that stuff that I think you were really surprised about too.
Yeah, what'll be really cool is like on when we end this series to be able to have the starting.
Yeah, sorry.
Analytics and the end analytics, right?
It's not an end. It's not an end. When you get done with this phase.
Yes. When I say the end, I mean like, the next phase. I've dedicated myself to being here. I'm going to go show everyone that I can go home and do it this phase and then come back and by the end of the month and show that I've stayed on track and everything. But the most important thing is it's not a diet. It's not a diet. It's a lifestyle change.
Yeah, I think that when you say, hey, reach out, there's a lot of us that are here to help other people. There's only one rule. And like Carly was talking about today, she's like, we will only help those that are willing to help themselves.
That's right.
So we're not rescuing anybody. We are not white knighting people's lives. Some people, I mean, even you, we were surrounded around you the whole time. I was getting healthier every day while you were getting unhealthier every day. Mm-hmm. And you were watching that as it put friction on our relationship. And I'm sure it had friction on other relationships, not just mine.
100%.
And it wasn't friction because I'm like, look at this. It's because I know what you're capable of and you're falling well below that level. And although you're exceeding every expectation I needed from you to on a personal level, a professional level, on a personal level, you were failing your family and yourself, right? And that was why I just kept hammering you. And I actually had out, I was having, Dakota would ask me, like, what are some of the things that are bothering you? And I'm like, I can't motivate some of the people on my team. I've hit a plateau. And I'm afraid that if I don't evolve, I'm going to fail them, right? And if I don't have the way to jumpstart something in them, then what fucking good am I as a leader, right? And it takes other leaders to help us. And like, there's things that I hope to do to help him, in return, because he's helped me in tremendous ways, and now he's helping you in the same ways. But I want people to understand that it sucked. It sucked hard for a week, and then it got addictive and infectious, and then your mind shift changed, and I noticed the emotional changes in you when you would call me, in the last few days.
Oh yeah.
So tell us, each week, what were you seeing? What were you feeling? And what did you enjoy? What did you hate? And don't skimp out on the hard parts that hate, because there will be people that'll go out and they'll be like, look, if he could do it, I could do it too. And they're going to try it. And then on week one, or, maybe they make it through week two and they're like, I did it. Or, what something's going to be painful that they may suck. And they'll be like, that ain't for me.
I hate the alarm sound in the morning. I will say that. Like, I hate when that alarm rings at 4:15.
Oh, because
I'm out the door at 4:30. I hate the sound of that alarm.
I think that is a window that should not be forever. Like, I'm like,
no, yeah. Like, the reason I'm doing it at that time here is so when I'm at home, I can do it at 5:15, right? Because I live in a different time zone, and then that will 5:15 at home will be more, suitable to my lifestyle at home. But I hate the sound of the alarm, but I love just about everything that's coming after that. You're right. For the first week, it was tough. I mean, when you go from a sedentary lifestyle like that to doing what I was doing, like, you can barely walk when you get up in the morning, you know what I mean? And you got to go stretch. You got to.
There was no sympathy.
Not at all.
Look, you were surrounded by other hard men, and we were like, welcome to the fucking show. Stay after it.
Yeah.
Keep doing it until it doesn't hurt anymore. We do hard things until they're not hard.
And eventually they're not.
Yeah.
Eventually they're not. Like, I say I hate the alarm. I still am not a huge fan of it in the morning, but I don't hate it.
I've never seen you miss a day.
Not at all. And I'm not going to. It's just like with anything in life, right? Like, where like things are hard at first, but the more you do them, the less hard they become. And then you got to find new things that are harder to do, right? Like, that's why I keep increasing the amount of time I'm trying to sit in the cold plunge. Eventually you get to a point where it's no longer beneficial. And I'm not going to be one of these crazy people sitting in it for 11 minutes.
I saw that.
Anything like that, for sure. That I don't want that. There's no science that says that 11 minutes is better for me than 4 minutes, right? But there's different areas that I can push myself in to do harder things, or the hill of life, right? Like, and one thing that I will say, like, made me feel the best about doing this was when we just recently went and did the hill of life again. Like, so, a quarter ago, we went and did it as a leadership team. And let's just say that your boy was sucking wind. Like,
thought he was going to die.
I had a really hard time. And the last time we went, like, again, just a decision. That's all it is a decision in your mind. I didn't say it to anybody, you know that, but we talked about it afterwards. But on the car ride there, in my mind, I'm like, I will not be the one that holds this group back.
That's why you went first, huh?
It is.
Because you took off charging. And I'm like,
and that's why I kept trying. You notice, like, people would get in front of me and I'd go around because I wanted to be, there was not a single chance I was going to be the one to fall behind. And then we get to the part where we do the vertical climb, and
you took off.
I did, but
that's a steep climb and it's a longer climb than you think.
It is. But the first time we did that as a leadership team, I bet I stopped on that climb 5 or 6 times. And, you probably remember everyone was waiting for me at the end. And, I just knew that one of two things was going to happen. I was going to make it to the top of that fucking hill before I took a break, or I was going to fucking have a heart attack and fall backwards and roll down on all of you. Right? Like, that's just...
I almost clicked both boxes.
That's the mindset that I have.
You have to have
that. That's how I've always been. And
you have to be on the attack.
For sure. And you know what? Hey, I got to the top of it, and, I was...
smoked.
Oh, dude, I thought I was going to pee. I even told you, I was like, hey, man, you may want to step back.
Yeah.
Because there's about to be a spill here.
Yeah.
I mean? But I didn't.
But that was so much more improved than the last time.
Oh, 100%. And like the next, like part of my plan.
After Thanksgiving, we'll be doing it again. I'm going to do it hard, and I'll lead that pace, and you're going to keep up.
Yeah. And part of my plan is when I'm at home, there's a dam at home where I'm going to go run.
Train on it.
Yeah. Maybe I'll build myself up to running them, but I'm just going to climb these damn steps every day. It's funny, they're damn steps, but they're fucking damn steps too. You know what I mean? Like, this is a vertical
You
climb.
want that, man.
I do. And that becomes addicting too, right? Like, it really does. I think I've told you before, like, the day's going to come that I'm going to fucking rejoice in the day that I fucking smoked Kirk O'Fell on a workout. You know what I mean?
You know what's funny? No one will celebrate that more than
I know that. But, so that was a super positive change. But like, outside of just that, like, we had a business situation the other day where
normally you would have flipped this table.
Oh, I was the kind of person that I was that clapping fucking monkey where you could just wind me up and you could point me in a certain direction.
Yeah,
and you could send me to fucking murder somebody.
That was perfect.
And
you were good at that.
I noticed, yesterday that the exact same situation took place.
You were super chill.
I was.
Like, hey, man, let's talk about this.
Yeah, like, hey, like,
it's having a profound impact on you.
Yeah, and it's not just in a professional atmosphere either, right? Like,
and I probably even responded to it in a way that I was like, oh shit, here he goes. And you're like, dude, I'm not mad, Kirk. I'm super good. And I was like, whew.
Yeah.
And that's where I saw the emotional change. No one's going to see the change in you more than your wife and your kids.
Yeah.
But on the day to day, it was really good to see that, man. I mean, I'm real proud of what you've accomplished in a short amount of time, and I want you to celebrate these wins. You can't hold off and celebrate until you finish. You have to, like, Sean Aker wrote a book called The Happiness Advantage, where it's like, once I do this, then I'll be happy. And I'm like, no, man, celebrate that you are 1% better today than you were yesterday. And look, you're going to have a day that sucks. And you've had them. You know what I'm saying? So
sure.
We all had them. But at the end of the day, what you really want to do is you want to make sure that you're gaining ground. And you know that where you started this at the end of November to where you're at today, you're not even the same person.
Yeah, end of October.
Oh, I'm sorry, end of October, but you're not even the same person.
Not at all. And even though I haven't been at home to like experience it with my family, I think I told you, and like, anybody that has a 16-year-old daughter knows that, communication isn't always the strong point between a father and a 16-year-old daughter, right?
Sure.
But man, especially like I would say this week, right? I've just had better communication with my wife, my daughter, my other kids. And like, even when I've been put in situations that used to be the thing that would make me fucking snap, you know what I mean? I've been able to just like be like, all right,
let's figure it out.
Yeah.
You have a much more emotional control.
Yeah. And I personally attribute it to, and I think it was one of the Rogan podcasts, they talked about it too. And it's so true that like part of the reason I like doing the cold plunge in the morning is there's nothing that I'm going to do in my day that's going to suck worse than that.
That is the worst.
You know what I mean? Like there's not like
I can make every excuse why I shouldn't go more than 90 seconds.
Yeah. But like I feel like when I do that in the morning, there's nothing anybody's going to say or do that's going to make me madder or feel worse than that does. But I want to be super fucking clear about this. It sucks while you're doing it.
Oh,
the second you get out of that,
you feel so amazing.
I can't even describe it. Like,
but it lasts for like 6 hours too. It's not like 100%. A drug. I'm sure that Rogan has people that talk about the chemistry in your brain that's released as a byproduct that's similar to cocaine or some shit. But there is so much stuff that comes from that to where like I finish. I mean, if I'm not in a cold plunge, I cold shower every day. I'm grounding twice a day in the morning and the evening. There's lots of things. Vitamin D is the biggest deficiency that people have.
I was one of them.
Yep, not me. Right, so
taking 500 or 5,000 IUs a day right now to make sure I can get it back.
Just start taking your phone calls outside. Like I go outside with a headset on. I walk around on a sunny day and take my phone calls from out there all the time.
That's an important thing to mention, right? Like I am taking the 5,000 IUs a day because, again, because of our lifestyles, it doesn't always
we're accommodate so much.
Yeah,
it sucks.
It doesn't always accommodate being outside and being able to do this or that. But a lot of people don't realize like, God and the universe are a very profound, magical thing where like all these things that you need are naturally provided to you if you just take the time to do them. And it doesn't take a lot of time.
I think what trips a lot of people up is like I used to do triathlons and you can buy speed with a bike. You could buy better tires, better Shimano gears or whatever. You can buy a better bike and zip wheels. You could buy speed. And I think that we live in an environment today, our society is predicated on instant now. I want it now, right? And some people want to be better, but they don't want to pay the price to be better. So what you'll see is maybe they just go throw a ton of money on supplements in hopes that what they can do with those supplements is accelerate and speed up on what they have.
Yeah.
And there's no need for that. Just letting Mother Nature take its course, stop poisoning yourself and start changing some habits until the habits become the lifestyle, right?
Yeah. And there's one thing I want to add to like I think this is super important that you also have to feed yourself a steady diet of positive,
podcasts or
anything like that. Like I told you, I listened to one yesterday and I have a new fucking motto for my life. And I think it's super powerful and something people should hear. And it's that, the happiness that you're seeking is in the work you're avoiding. Right. Yeah. And that's a super powerful thing in my opinion. And I'm a tattoo guy. Like at some point in my life, I'm gonna have that tattooed on me somewhere because
I think the neck would be a good spot. Maybe like right here.
I was actually thinking like Tyson, like maybe just around my jawline.
Well, listen, this is a good podcast and there's so much we could talk about this forever, right? And we do when we're together.
Got a bunch more.
Oh, well, we're not done. You have when does this phase, when do we get done with this phase? The first week of December?
Yeah.
And right around that same time, I'm going to be introducing a podcast with another lady in this industry who's doing something similar to you. It's a complete human reset. Her journey's completely different. And she's going to be on this podcast telling me and all of us what she's been doing, right? And we've been feeding her a steady diet of things, and man, she's insatiable, right? I can't give her enough podcasts or enough audiobooks, and she is addicted to improving her life. And she's like, look, I've stopped smoking, I stopped drinking, I stopped this. She works out every day, right? You can see the rings on her thing, and I think that we're all arriving at a part in our lives right now to where we all know we want to be better. We all want to get healthier. We get it. We just don't know where to start. And I think that we wanted to do these podcasts because we're broken men. And we are on this journey, and we're not special. Like I said, I can't say it enough, man. We are just amateurs trying to change souls and trying to change the world. But if we can do it, anybody can do it, don't you think? Agree. So to that end, let's bring this one home because there's a lot more to cover. And by the next time I see you, and by the next time that we do this, you'll have weighed in again. We'll have understood how some of the medications, the supplements that you're using, not for the sake of supplements, but the supplements intentionally and deliberately designed to offset the things that you're deficient in your body. So we're really dialing you in. I expect you to be, every time we see this, it should be not like the incredibly shrinking man, but the man that's just evolving and through it. I expect you to be healthier at 36 than you were at 26.
100%.
All right. So listen, brother, it takes a brave soul to come on this podcast. It takes a braver soul to be so transparent. You're almost an open book, and that talks about your courage, right? So, dude, I can't imagine anybody else doing this, and I can't imagine anybody else that can inspire so many people with your story, because you're endearing. People love you. People know you, and you are hands down one of the best in this business of delivering data centers. I think everyone will see this transformation in you, and I think it'll inspire a lot of people. So, man, good job. So. Proud of you.
Thanks, man.
All right, brother.
Love you.
Love you back.